Poulin, we've been talking about getting going here. You being in a management position, how busy would like a team services guy be right now, just with everything up in the air and possible situations? And by the way, the team services guy, for anyone who doesn't know, is booking hotels, it's booking flights, it's booking a lot of stuff, dealing with the individual players. Is that probably the busiest guy in the NHL right now?
Absolutely. And for the Leafs, it's Brad Lynn, who I worked with closely with the Marlies, and he has probably, I can't even tell you how many different plans he has right now, 10, 12, 14, 16, totally different plans, each one contingent on something else happening. If he's bringing everybody back to Toronto to start with, if they're starting in the U.S., why bring everybody back to Toronto? You'd have another origination point, different hotels, different logistics, who's involved, what is a bubble going to look like? And, these guys are so good at what they do. And it's funny when you describe them, because it's kind of like when you need something, that's where you start. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know what you need, but you need a new fridge, that's where you start. It doesn't matter what you need, he can get it. And those guys are so good at what they do. And they travel with the team. They're there all the time. It's not like someone who makes plans at home and then doesn't go with the team. They're there to take the heat when something goes wrong on the road too. So he would have so many different balls that he'd be juggling right now. And each day trying to get more and more information about how things are shaping up, how many this is going to involve. Things like visas. Okay, are the visas extended from the end of the season? Who do we need to worry about that for? If they include the young man, Nick Robinson, he's an American. Mm-hmm. Does his Canadian visa expire at a certain point from playing with Peterborough? All these crazy things. So he's a very busy man right now.
We were talking about training camp, Poulin. Is 3 weeks too much? Like, I was thinking 10 days should be enough to fire these guys up. Like you're trying to get this thing done, and I know there's a bunch of different factors, but isn't 3 weeks a little much?
It's too long, It's too long for me, and at almost any stage of my career, and particularly if they're going to get back on the ice on June 6th and don't start till July 10th. So you picture this, and the part I didn't like, and I've spoken to you about it before, is that when they start on June 6th, originally there's no coaches, no instructors, nobody involved. And that's not a social distancing thing, guys. That's someone that's there when they're setting the rules, arguably in the Player Association, who doesn't want coaches involved because maybe they...
Why the hell wouldn't you want... I know coaches are coaches, but wouldn't you want a coach out there to kind of...
Absolutely, Like, who's supposed to run it? You step on the ice with 5 other guys and say, okay, we're going to be happy for the first day because we're zipping around on the ice shooting pucks and stuff. But
3-on-3 weave drill.
Exactly. And don't come within 6 feet of each other. Yeah. And I absolutely think from day one there should be an instructor there if he's standing on the bench, whatever. And it makes no sense at all. Mm-hmm. Players want to be told what they have to do, and particularly with how they are with sports science now. Is one of the 6 groups or one of the groups of 6 going to go too hard the first day and burn themselves out? And, is their second day going to be, different from their first day? I just think that's a big miss. But if you have a month plus of that and then go into a 3-week training camp, now you're talking 7 or 8 weeks. It's too long. They don't need it. I mean, they simply don't. These are elite athletes. Yes, they've been on for a long time, but there's a ramp up during these smaller group skates that, if done properly, can get you in place where 10 days max for a training camp for me.
I agree, and I think the format we discussed last week. It's not perfect, but we are going to see some exciting hockey. And the one thing that we discussed, and I wanted to circle back on it, Poulin, was the league has, for lack of better words, we'll call it the luxury of time. And what do I mean by that is to push it a little bit farther. Like and I were talking earlier, and Mark were in the 4 o'clock hour of, if you're going to make an announcement and then say, 6 to 8 weeks from now, it gets people excited, and then they realize, that's still 2 months away or more. And saying, like, it would have been nice if they, had more of an announcement, hey, right now, and we're going to be playing 3 weeks from now. They can't do that. But then I look at the league's standpoint, and they say, we want fans starting in January. We want to get things back to normal with somewhat of a timeline. So when you're working backwards from that, it's fine for them to start in August and September and play into October and have 2 months off just because this is such a unique situation. Do you agree with what the league is doing as far as that time frame?
Well, I think they're trying to be first, Jamie, above all. They're trying to get it out there and be first. Now, they're working, I would believe, in close coordination with the NBA because that makes total sense. But it's so challenging right now to put a timeline on anything. It just is because of the dynamics of how fast things are changing. And, I mean, they're just changing so quickly. And I still think, guys, we've watched now testing is down to, 12 hours, and they can get a full result back. I still think between now and 4 weeks now, we're going to see medical advancements in testing and how we're doing things, and hopefully in medicine of some sort. And before we get to an August 1st puck drop for games, now you're talking a couple of full months. And once again, at the rate science is working, you're very hopeful that something gets better in that time. Tracing, tracking, medicine, whatever it may be, that will make all this. I think you can always pull the date up. I don't think they want to get in a position where they have to push it back again. And so when you say time's on their side, set the far date. If you move it up by a couple of weeks, then everybody's even that much more excited.
You think management types are throwing in the odd FaceTime right now, Poulin? Checking in on the fellas?
Yeah, I think you want to check in. I think pretty much, but now more than ever, that's left to the trainers and the responsibility on the trainers, And the trainer may go to a manager and say, hey, you might want to give so-and-so a little ring and see how he's doing. And not by phone, by the way, but maybe a FaceTime or a Zoom call or a Skype call so you can get a visual on this guy. But that seems less and less now. It really does. Right. But once again,
there'll be one or two, though, David.
Time. Oh, absolutely, there will. There's no question there will. There'll be a couple on every team, and no question that just have never had to experience something like this and have never gone this long and have no idea how to handle it.
Joined by our TSN hockey analyst, Dave Poulin. And, the guys dismissed this. Darcy Tucker dismissed it. But there's this whole idea that the Columbus Blue Jackets would have an advantage because they have a veteran coach in John Tortorella compared to Sheldon Keefe. And given
Who said that, by the way?
Nick Foligno. With Mark Masters on TSN. I think
their one advantage they had, Mark, is if they work Toronto into the ground and Toronto doesn't work, then they'll beat them. That's their advantage.
Well, that's John Tortorella, though. That's,
right.
Can he get them to do that? I'm really intrigued, and Jamie and I were laughing when I cut Brian Hayes' grass the other night and asked Dwayne Casey a question about coaching in a short-term tournament, and just it was really about whether a coach is going to have more of an effect, like coach more, coach the exact same, or coach less.
That's a great point.
And how are we going to handle it? And that's where the veteran Torch, is he going to back off at the right time when we think he's going to take total command? Is he going to say no? Now he would have been the assistant coach on the 2010 U.S. Olympic team. They've all done world championships, and that's what this is more like. This is more you're coaching for a short-term tournament. And I'm intrigued to watch how much coaching is a factor. And to me, the guys that know their team the best, that understand their team the best, that have been through some things like a Bruce Cassidy, how nice would it be to say to Chara, hey, take the D down to that end, and Bergeron, hey, you take the forwards down to that end, and have a little chat with them before we get going here and let them know what we're looking for. Like the luxury of having a team together like that that's won a Stanley Cup, that's been to the finals, again, that's been through so many battles, and they're good. And that's where I think the advantage goes to the coach that figures out how much to do or how little to do at the right time during this.
That's a great point.
Where did that voice come from anyway?
That was
That's
after
the clip
your
of Dwayne Casey.
Yeah,
that
Dwayne
was
Casey.
funny. That is so funny. Dwayne had no idea where that other voice came from.
But he loved it. You gonna be ready for the panel in late July? I know.
Yeah, I'm ready to go.
I know it's
I'm ready
right around
to go
the
right
corner.
now. Tell me we're starting tomorrow. I'm ready to go. With whatever happens here, we don't know at all. But I think everybody is excited to get back to it and see what happens. And it's something so different. You think about, you're always looking on panel points. You know, you go into we've had some games where we're sitting there with 2 minutes to go in the period. Noah and I are looking at each other like, we don't have one single thing to say here. Like, no one thing to say.
0-0 game.
0-0. Shots are 6-3. There have been no special teams. No one's hit anybody. But, you know, in this case, you're going to have a million different directions to go and talking points of individual and all different points to go to. And I think it's going to be, from a broadcaster's standpoint, it's going to be a broadcaster's delight because there's going to be lots to talk about.
I agree.